Hi, I'm Caitlin,
And I'm Brianna.
and welcome to the Readers Clubhouse where we revisit our childhood favorite content.
So, Caitlin,
Uh-huh,
we've been doing this for a while now.
it's true.
It's true.
A few.
And a few, yes. And
I
I
think
don't.
this is, sorry, I think this is our 28th episode, Brianna.
Wow. We're
Go
almost to
us!
episode 30.
Hey, it's almost how
Uh,
old. Never mind. Okay, go ahead. I was gonna say it's how old, this episode is how old I am. Happy birthday
Oh.
to this, never mind. Anyway, moving on. Go ahead.
Uh-oh. Uh, but I think we maybe briefly talked about this in an earlier episode, possibly, but not particularly in
Perhaps.
depth. And I was wondering if you had to be an animal in the Redwall setting, which one would you be?
Mm, great question, Brianna. Gosh, okay. I have two answers.
Okay.
One is what I think I would probably be based on personality and current traits. One is
Yeah.
what I would want to be
Oh,
because,
yes.
you know.
Perfect.
Um, I think if if I was going to choose something that I already kind of am, honestly, probably like a dormouse or bankful are the
Okay.
two thoughts that I had. Oh, or maybe a shrew.
I could see it.
Is a shrew?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking sort of Bankful Dormouse because they tend to be portrayed as very homely comfort characters, and it's
Yeah.
they're sort of the okay, well, the Bankfuls can be kind of hit or miss with chaos and like just terrible or
Yeah.
just kind of curmudgeonly.
Yeah.
um
You've got a curmudgeonly. We've
yeah,
talked about you being an old man
yes,
at heart.
yes, 100%.
So,
100%. That's why I think I would probably be that. Or my other thought with what I would be personality wise is a shrew, just because I'm not really argumentative, although I definitely can be. It's not
yeah.
necessarily my natural state, although sometimes it is. Um, but I think I just identify with the shrews kind of a little bit. What I
Yeah.
would want to be is a hare because
Mm.
they're disciplined. Well, okay, from a hare from Salamandastron specifically,
Yes. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're
Yeah. Yeah.
disciplined, they're organized, they're intelligent, we've talked about this before, they're jolly, but they've got this hard line to them.
They're
Very
perilous.
they're perilous. They're very justice oriented and are very much about where we protect the coast from raiders and sea rats and all that jazz. So, in terms of who I'd want to be or what I'd want to be, I suppose that's I think what I would want to be. And then
Yeah.
of course a badger, obviously. But let's all be real. Caitlin's not main character. Caitlin is side character. And
We've
that's
had this
okay.
conversation before, yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, Brianna?
Um, so it's for what I want to be, it's a
Hmm.
tie between an otter and a squirrel.
Mm,
Because
okay.
this is I think something I remember wanting to be a otter when I was younger. That was like a thing.
Yeah.
And then definitely a squirrel too, because I always really loved I think it was Lady Amber
Hmm.
in Mossflower and then Jess
Yeah.
in Redwall. And then there's like a lot of other, especially girl squirrels,
Yeah.
during the course of this different stories. Why can't I remember her name? The one that the baby badger's named after.
Oh, Rosa.
Russa. Russa and then uh Sorrow,
Hmm.
which were just an episode we had pretty recently.
Yeah.
Like they were all really big, memorable characters to me, and like there's other
Yeah.
squirrels that were, but specifically girls. And there was a couple of otters too, but I always just loved the concept that a lot of the otters were like, I want to say kind of more masculine coded, even if they were girls. Not like whatever your thoughts about some of that are
They're
and stuff.
not massive. They're built.
They're
They're
built,
physically
yeah,
built.
like,
Yeah.
but they aren't. overly feminine in like the media concept of femininity and media concept of
Yeah.
masculinity. They're built, they're strong. A lot of the things we identify with a male character,
Yeah.
the girl otters had some of it. Like literally, one of the things that annoys me sometimes is there's very few, I'm not saying there isn't any, but there's very few like revenge plots with women that aren't centered around them being a mother specifically
Hmm.
a lot of the time. And again, nothing wrong with that. That's love that. But specifically going back to Lutra,
Hmm.
that one had a female character who was getting revenge for her whole like clan
Yeah.
essentially and stuff. And that was really cool. What I would actually be, I would be a mole.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yes.
so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't necessarily say I always am like the smartest person. Like moles are like have the greatest mole logic or whatever. I don't always have that.
It's very
But
down to earth, pun intended, kind of
yes, literally.
logic of so say, why didn't you tell me that? And the mole's like, because you didn't ask.
Literally, I actually that is a little bit more of my thing and
Hmm.
stuff. And then also I just kind of am spacey sometimes, and moles tend to have that even when
Yeah,
they are
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit more, yeah. And then also half the time I just kind of say whatever. I'm not always, but like I trip over my words all the time, especially when I'm talking to people. And
Mm,
so like the moles have like their own speech and
yeah,
people, unless they're around moles a lot, don't always know what they're saying. And I'm
yeah,
like, hey, I feel that.
yeah,
So, and then I love moles. Like they're some of my favorites and stuff. So I feel like that would be what I
yeah.
actually would be.
I love that, Brianna. And
Thank you.
moles are some of the best characters in Redwall, honestly. They're
Absolutely.
very rarely main focus characters, but they
Yeah.
are just always like of all of the characters that Brian makes in the Redwall series,
Yeah.
moles feel like Redwall, you know?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
obviously you got the warrior mice and squirrels and otters and hedgehogs and all that stuff. You got all those things, but it's always the moles I feel like that are actual archetypes of this is what Redwall is like and this is what Redwall what we strive to
Yeah.
be. So,
Absolutely.
anyway,
I completely agree.
uh, go moles. Everybody be a mole. All right, Brianna. Do you want to get into our book stats?
Yes. So, guys, today we're talking about the book, the Redwall book called Rhulain. This one, we are just
Woo.
kind of plugging along at this point. We've gotten way past the part where we're bouncing around in the past. We are now continuing on to the future. Now, something I will clarify before getting the stats. At this point, timeline-wise, we have no concept of like how long
Mm,
it's been since the previous book or
yeah.
any of that kind of thing. Because Brian, as far as I'm aware, stopped trying to connect them all like he was from Redwall to what was the Tagaron. He
Yeah.
and then he also did what was the book after Tagaron?
Moral Falk.
Oh, Tr it
Oh,
was Triss.
Triss, yeah.
Triss. There was a little bit of connection with that, but it was like literally a huge time skip
Hmm.
of like couple hundred seasons and stuff.
Yeah.
So like after that, we have no absolute like idea of when this is in relation to what's happened before. So, but in real timeline wise, literally this book was written a year after the previous book, which was Rackety Tam.
Yep.
And so this was written or was released in 2005 by Brian Jakes, again a fantasy fiction book, and it's like middle grade, young adult possibly, depending on your concept with all of that. So,
Mm.
are we ready for me to get into the summary?
Oh man, I think so, Brianna. Let's
Awesome.
do it.
Okay. We find ourselves in the middle of a large storm, where a wildcat goads his two sons into attacking a cornered osprey. The wildcat warlord Rigu Felis soon becomes dissatisfied with his son's efforts and tries to kill the osprey himself, but the osprey gets the better of him and rips off half of the warlord's face. He escapes into the storm, but is wounded and is tossed far from his home, Green Isles. Soon after the storm ends, we arrive in the early morning in the beloved Abbey of Redwall. We meet a group of young Redwallers led by Tyria Wildlow, the daughter of the current skipper. Her and her three friends are trusted to leave the Abbey
Pause.
on their own. Yes.
It's very important to me that you pronounce her name right.
Okay, what is it, Caitlin?
It's Wildlock.
Wildlock,
You gotta
thank
think
you. I
Scottish.
okay, I would not have realize that.
Did
Okay.
you read it with your eyeballs, not your ear holes?
Yes.
I hate the way that I said that. Anyway,
Yeah, it was a little bit body horror-esque.
there.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, go back.
Okay. Soon after the storm ends, we arrive in the early morning in the beloved Abbey of Redwall. We meet a group of young Redwallers led by Tyria Wildlock, the daughter of the current skipper. Her and her three friends are trusted to leave the Abbey on their own for the first time to gather wood, but before they can finish their task, they stumble upon a band of water rats tormenting an osprey they had tied up. Tyria and her friends fight them off and free the bird, bringing him back to the Abbey to be healed. Back on Green Isles, the truth of the Isles situation is brought to light. It was once the home of many clans of otters, but many generations before, a band of wildcat raiders killed their queen, the High Rhulain, and took over and enslaved the otters that were left. Fellis is the current warlord and is cruel to the otters, but not all hope is lost. Letho Shellhound, an outlaw otter and the last of his clan, along with many other hidden otter clans, seek to finally kill Fellis. After Fellis' debacle with the osprey, he orders that all birds are to be killed. Letho helps save a poor goose from this fate, Brentalis, and the goose is able to get away and fly off to the east. Back at the Abbey, Tyria finds herself having dreams of Martin, but someone else also joins some of these dreams. The High Rhulain, the ancient queen of the otters of Green Isle. They tell her the Green Isle needs her. With the help of both old and young of the Abbey, it comes to light that her family is descended from the queen, and she appears to be destined to take up the mantle. Before they can fully figure out the clues left behind, she sets out, knowing that she has limited time. The osprey, who we learn is named Pandion, is the one that fought Fellis, and he goes along with her. She sets out with her father and his friend, and they connect her with the Gaussum shrews, who eventually connect her with a ship that can sail the seas. It is captained by a hare who seems quite odd. Cuthbert Blandale Frunk is a hare that has been through hell and back again, and he often changes through a myriad of personas as the adventure goes on. He takes her first to Salamandastron, introducing her to Lord Mandorol, who informs her that an ancient badgelord had once been friends with the High Queen and had made special armor for her. He gives Tyria the armor, and they set out for Green Isle with a small army of hares at her back. Back at the Abbey, those left behind continue along with the clues, soon discovering that they seek to find an ancient spear in the High Rhulain's cornet. After a number of setbacks and tragedy, they are able to recover the cornet and spear, and they task Branatalis the goose with getting the cornet to Tyria. Back at the Green Isle, the outlaw otters are made aware through an old seer that the queen is on her way to free them. The old seer also leads them to an old home of the otters, Holt Summerdale. The warriors leave their families there and set back out to the fortress to free the slaves still left there. As they try to enact this plan, Letho is captured by Fellis and hung from a cage. The otters outside continue to fight, though are disheartened. But to their surprise, they're soon joined by a group of hares. Tyria and her small army have finally arrived. They make plans to take the castle. At the last moment, Brantalis arrives and gives Tyria her cornet, but Letho is in danger. Tyria asks Pandion and Brantalis to save him, and they set out to do so. But Fellis sees what they are doing and seeks his revenge on the osprey, killing him with his axe. Tyria sees what he has done and kills him with her sling. After the battle is won, the army sets back out to Summerdale, but are blocked by the remnants of the cat army. Cuthbert, in a moment of bravery and madness, breaks the barricade and kills their general. As the group finally arrives in Summerdale, they mourn their losses, but also celebrate their victory. Green Isle once again has its queen.
Well done, Brianna.
Thanks. Got a little dicey in there, but I
I
got
mean,
through it.
there's a lot.
There's a lot I left
There's
out.
a lot. There, I mean, always, Brianna. There's always
yeah.
a lot. All right, let's talk about songs and poetry.
Yes.
There's a few things I've got to say.
Yeah.
So, we're going to start at the very beginning with Martin and the long dead High Rhulain coming to talk to Tyria. So you've got Tyria as as Brianna has just literally read to us, a young otter maid who lives at Redwall, grew up at Redwall. That's her whole vibe.
Yeah.
She has a dream. Classic, standard sort of Redwall mysticism, I suppose, where Martin the Warrior appears to the hero of the story in a dream. And he also sometimes will appear with other characters. We heard in Loamhedge how he appeared with Sister Amel or Amel or whatever it was
Yeah.
to
I think it
Martha.
was Amel.
Amel. And here he's a appearing with an otter lady and a very regal otter lady. And if you guys look up the cover of Rhulain, you'll
Hmm.
see like the description of the otter lady is essentially what is on the cover of this story.
Yeah.
So Martin says, like the sun, Rhulain will rise anew to set the downtrodden free. A warrior maid with wildlock blood must cross the western sea. She who looks ever through windows at signs which feathers make, seek the green isle through her knowledge for all thy kin be sake. So that's kind of the first poem that is given to us that sort of sets us off on the journey.
Yeah.
And I just think Brian does a really good job in a lot of his books of getting, I guess, setting the characters off on a journey
Yeah.
with a riddle, not a riddle. I mean, it's kind of a riddle, but like a
With a puzzle, a
prophecy.
riddle, a song, something that
Yeah,
like leads them somewhere.
yeah, exactly. So that's a big one. And then I had another one. So the otters, there's a lot in here which I want to get to talk about in sort of the world building story section
Mm.
about otters and specifically the otter culture and stuff both in Mossflower but primarily on the Green Isles because that's where
Yeah.
we see the most of it. But there's Zillow, who's an old bard who I love that he's old Zillow the bard.
Yeah.
The character himself is just really fun and very much my type of character. Let's be
Yeah.
real. Ancient,
Kooky,
decrepit,
kooky old
kooky,
man.
kooky old man. Yeah, that's some of my favorite character types in
Yeah.
a lot of things. I'm not gonna read the entire thing, mostly because honestly, the audiobook version of this, like the otters are Scottish, essentially.
Okay. I was
And
wondering.
so
For people's thing, I usually listen, but I didn't listen this time. I read.
yeah,
So this is like
yeah.
swapped.
I
I'm
could
like,
I
oh
could tell
man,
that you read it because you mispronounced half the names. And I was
yeah,
like, but that's just the way that, our
yeah,
brains assume things. So,
yeah,
um, Leto has, I think at this point, escaped from his initial. He's like a fugitive sort of character, and
he's an
so
outlaw.
he's an outlaw. Yes,
Yeah.
Leto the outlaw. But Zillow is this bard seer character who did his whole dream thingy. Okay, so it says, "'Twas a mouse in bright armor, he spake loud and clear, and he carried a sword that was wondrous to see. Old Zillow the Bard, he said, never you fear, for 'tis writ in the stars that the clans will run free. From the seas and the oceans, from river and stream, rise up all you warriors, arm every paw. A leader is coming to fulfill your dreams, one who will stand at your head as you march off to war." Of course, in, Scottish accent, it sounds way
Yeah.
better. And also paw and war rhyme in Scottish. Um, you'll rise like the red dawn, all in a great band, like a brave surging tide as never was seen. As ye thunder her title all over this land, all hail to the Rhulain, the high otter queen. So you've got the appearance of Martin to Tyria with this
Yeah.
poem, and then you have Martin appearing to old Zillow the Bard and giving him a little poem.
Yeah.
And so that's just really interesting. I just thought like the songs and poetry in here are there's a lot of little clues that Martin drops into
Yeah.
things. And also you have the river otter the otter tribes on this island. They do a lot of singing. There's a lot of ditties, there's a lot of like old me old blah blah blah, talk to me this
Yeah.
song, that sort of stuff. And then you also have, as Tyria is on her way to Green Isles, she's going off. She's trying to see what's going on. You also have at the Abbey, they're trying to find the coronet and spear. So they've got this old. They find a an account of the last Rhulain, her death, as told to the Abbey recorder by her brother and his wife.
Yeah.
And so Or I'm sorry, it wasn't the Abbey, it was Salmondastron. That was where the record was, wasn't it?
No, you're getting confused with Lord White, Earth White. Those are two different things because that Rhulain's brother ended up at Redwall Abbey with his wife.
Yeah,
He told the recorder. The
gotcha.
information that Lord Mandrill has is from the records that Lord Earthwhite left behind.
Okay, so the actual. Oh no, I'm sorry. Right, because there's the Sister Gaminia, which
Yeah,
is the Sister Enigma
yeah,
lady. Um, yes, so yes. He, the brother of the
Rhulain.
Rhulain, told the Abbey all them what happened.
Yeah.
Yes, correcto mundo. I got this right. I'm so aware. Um, totally clocked in up here. It's been a while since I read this book. So there was a lot of
Mhm.
me trying to like rejig this.
And I
Um,
read this over the last couple of days, so
yes,
yeah.
100%. But there's a little quest. So there's a quest for the crown and a quest for the spear and a little poem riddle that Brian is so fond of and so good at writing.
Mm,
It says, "Twixt supper and breakfast find me in a place I was weary to be. Up in that top tactic one see lies what was the limb of a tree. It holds up what blocks out the night and can open to let in the light. For a third of a lifetime, one says, looking up, I can see it sideways. Tell me what we call coward in at. Then, when you have worked out that, you'll find your heart's desire by adding a backward lyre. Ever together the two have been set since Corium's lance ate the coronet." Just a lot of really fun wordplay, and
yeah,
especially as you get to go through the characters solving the riddle, which obviously Brian wrote. And
yeah,
so when he wrote that, he knew how he was going. I don't know whether he wrote the solutions first, the questions. Like, I don't
yeah.
know. We don't have access to his brain. But I just thought it was really fun because I don't know. I love when Brian does that, mostly because
Hmm.
as a kid, I was like, I don't know what this means. That's so clever. Wow. And now, as somebody who enjoys like escape rooms and escape room games, stuff like that,
Yeah,
I don't know. It felt really fun to me.
absolutely, yeah.
Um, so that's that. And then the last thing I want to say is there's a song. Oh, okay, well actually I just realized there's actually more than one. Aha, here we go. Okay. Wait. So there's two last songs I want to say. A lot of the songs caught me on this, and I don't really know why, but they did. They just
Yeah.
it got to me. At the end of the book, the army is marching towards the Wildcat Fortress,
Yeah.
and they're singing the war song of the Otter clans.
Mm,
It says Wildlocks, Wave Dogs, Stream Battles 2, River Dogs,
mm.
Stream Divers, Gale Deeps true. Death Rise the Wind, Tell the Enemy, the clans have risen, EIE. Show no quarter, stand up and fight, blood and steel be our birthright. O Rhulain, set your children free, the clans have risen, EIE.
And I think if just to clarify, make sure this part was when Letho was stuck in the
Letho.
fortress. Letho was
Mhm,
stuck in the fortress, and he could
mhm,
hear it.
mhm.
And then it like as it got closer, he could hear it more and knew what they were singing and started yelling it out too.
Yep.
That was a really good moment.
Yeah. Because it says, bursting out in a great howl of joy, the outlaw otter began marching around the chamber, bellowing out the war song of the otter clans.
Yeah.
It's that renewed hope and vigor, the sort of 11th hour moment.
Which again is a classic Redwall thing.
At 100%,
Yeah.
always.
We love a
Um,
good 11th hour hope
yep.
injection.
Yep. It's sometimes it'd be like this.
Yeah.
We need that. So then at the very end, not the very end, at the end of this, you've got after the dust has settled on the battle, you have all the bodies of the otters who had fallen, along with the osprey, Pandy, and Pike Talon, who
Hmm.
unfortunately was killed in the battle.
That was yeah.
They're put on a raft and floated out into the lake's center, and then they sing. a language. They sing a song in a language that was like an ancient otter language.
Yeah.
And then Letho translates it and it says, Thy memory stays midst friends, neath water thy body lies. Thy spirit lives, a warrior star set high in darkened skies. I'll look for thee when day is done, thou jewel in night's crown, a fearless legend, burning brave, forever shining down. Just really beautiful moment, like remembrance of the fallen,
Yeah.
and thought it was really beautiful. Did you have anything? I know you literally just read this, so is there anything
Yeah.
that stands out? Anything from like related to
So
the songs of poetry?
So actually, it's going off of that last bit that you just
Yeah.
talked about. So the thing I love about that one and why that one stood out to me, and I feel like I can't find my book. I left it
Hmm.
somewhere. Otherwise, I'd look it up. But the whole conversation about a warrior dying and being a star
Yeah.
was an ongoing thing at the very end of the book
Yeah.
where Tyria was speaking with one of the other
Yeah.
hares, and I cannot remember which one it was. But he was
Sergeant
this
O'Crag.
Sergeant O'Crag is big but kind, basically
Mhm.
is like his whole vibe. And he was having a conversation when they were sailing with
Mhm.
Tyria about what do you think happens to somebody after they dies? And I forget exactly how the conversation goes, but it comes back to like he'd been taught by his mentor because his parents had died and he was raised by an older hare in the Long Patrol. And he had been told by the hare that like they become stars in the sky. And then it was just this like ongoing like plot that or like ongoing little thing narrative, there we go,
Yeah.
during the course of that end of the book was that. And there was a conversation between Tyria and O'Crag at one point, I feel like, that after Cuthbert died is what
Hmm.
it was. And they were talking about Cuthbert and she's like, I'm going to honor him by in the night sky when
Hmm.
I see a big star and a little star, because we'll talk about this a little bit later, but Cuthbert's daughter had been killed years before. I'll name them Cuthbert and Petunia
Yeah.
and stuff. And so that song really like stuck out to me.
Hmm.
That ending bit with the otters, and I feel like there was a rhyme too, or like something O'Crag had said that was sort of a poem rhyme thing or whatever, but I can't quite remember at the moment, and I didn't make a note of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. That also had stuck out to me because it was again a similar thing.
Yeah.
But like just that concept of the belief they had, or even like they didn't have any proof about this, but they still like that comforted them to know that their friends and allies and loved
Yeah.
ones who died in battle were watching over them, basically, kind of that
Yeah.
concept and stuff. And it also just kind of leads to also this isn't with the song and poem thing, but the way that the clans honored their dead, I feel like was
Yeah.
very fascinating. I don't enjoy the concept of death. I don't know many people that do. It's one of my, like, I'm gonna be fully honest, guys, it's one of my weird fears that I have.
Yeah.
But I still find odd comfort in seeing burial or like death practices, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense, and understanding how people honor their loved ones that have gone across the board. Like, there's many different ways cultures have like found ways to honor the dead or like remember the dead or whatever
Yeah.
the way they do about it and stuff. And I did like the concept of the way that the otters did it in this, which was literally just to sink the bodies to the lake bed
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
that was
And a
really
really
cool.
beautiful moment also after this because Tyria had sort of a gaggle of Redwall friends that
Yeah,
she began the story with, but none of them came with her.
yeah,
And you find out sort of in the course of the story that one of them, Brinty, ends up dying in because of sort of consequences of his actions. He attacked a rat, the rat swore
yeah,
vengeance on him, and then the rat
yeah,
ended up killing him. And it's not until after the final battle that Tyria finds out that Brinty had died. And she
yeah,
has this moment of sort of solo mourning.
yeah,
And then Letho comes up to her and is just like such an emotionally mature man.
yeah,
Like male character is so good. He's just so good. One of the other otter folk had carved a little figurine, and it used to
mhm,
be a little otter, but this female otter was like, well, like actually, Letho tells Tyria like she carved it down so it has a shorter tail. Sorry, not a shorter tail, but a thinner tail, so it looks like a mouse. And then Letho's like, okay, what we'll do is we'll tie him to a stone. and put some flowers around it, and then we're gonna put him in the lake with the other warriors that fell today. So not only is Brinty remembered at Redwall and buried at Redwall and remembered by his Redwall friends, because Tyria is now the queen of Green Isles, she's not going back to Redwall. Her home now is on the Green Isles. And so
Yeah.
they get to bury she has a burial moment and a grieving moment for Brinty on this isle, which I just thought
Yeah.
really, really beautiful and really
Yeah.
beautifully done in general.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Speaking of all of these things, now that we're about halfway through, I want to talk about, yes, just sort of the world building and story aspects of this.
Mm.
So there's two major locations that we have. It's Redwall
Yeah.
Mossflower, and then it's the Green Isle. And I
Yeah.
say Redwall Mossflower because it's not always just at Redwall. It's sort of the greater Mossflower area. And then you also have
Yeah.
Green Isle, which has a few main locations: the Fortress, Otter Clan Cave, Deep Lock, and then Holt Summerdale.
Yeah.
We make a brief pit stop at Salamandastron where we
Hmm.
see Mandoral High Peak, which I found it interesting because last episode in production order for us is Rackety Tam.
Yeah.
And in Rackety Tam, there's a Badger Lady with an M name.
Oh.
And here, the direct follow-up is another Badger Lord with an M name. And I'm like, Brian.
Also, the funny thing I think is twice in a row has he focused around characters that are very Scottish coded in these two
Yeah,
books. I'm
yeah.
like, were you going through a phase, Jakes? I don't, who
A
knows?
Scottish phase. His
Yeah.
fascination with the Scottish. Yeah, I
It's the
completely
it's
agree.
not the only time we've had like Scottish
No,
characters, but like
but
there's
two in
other
a
ones that
row
have yeah,
written one right after the other, you can
yeah,
tell that he was sort of going through a bit of a fascination with Scottish brogue and,
yeah,
something like that, which so valid. Like, love it. I love listening to the audiobook of Rackety Tam, okay? Just their
yeah,
Scottish accents were phenomenal. And the difference, that's a completely different thing. Um, yeah, so that's sort of the world building aspect of it. Now, I have some thoughts. Brianna,
yeah.
do you have any particular thoughts that you want to go? Because I actually have quite a few of them.
So I have a plot, uh, slightly world building, but also
Okay.
mostly plot, qualm to bring up a
Ooh, I
little
love
bit.
it. Okay.
Yes. So one of the things we learn about this is set during the time, or not, the past. So when the Rhulain is killed, the original one,
Yes.
this is hundreds of seasons before this.
Yeah.
Hundreds. We don't even know how much time has passed between Triss and this book.
Yeah.
And then the amount of time I want to say is like 150, 100 and almost maybe 200 years between Redwall and Tagaran. Maybe a little bit less, actually.
I
Actually,
feel
it'll
like
be
it'd
less than
be
that. It'd be
between
more
Redwall and Tagaran.
between Redwall and Tagaran. It's probably like closer to 100, 150. It's hard to tell with Badger timeline
Well,
stuff.
that's the thing is between Redwall, Redwall and the Long Patrol
Yeah, which is when Craiga comes on.
was probably, oh gosh, I don't know, because you had by the time Long Patrol happened, all of the other like anybody related to the Redwall series was dead because
Yeah,
Martin 2 was the last one really related to
anybody from that time.
anybody. So Tansy's the connector between Lutra and Long Patrol,
Yeah,
but Tansy's like
old.
old. Yeah. And then you have between Long Patrol and Marl Fox was a bunch of time
Yeah,
because nobody's alive between that. And then you
yeah.
have again nobody alive between. So I feel like it might
Except for
actually be
Craiga.
longer. Okay, okay, except for
Maybe, yeah. It could be up to like 200 something
yeah.
seasons. Who knows?
We should sit down and
So
have a conversation about this and actually like hammer out a theoretical timeline, Brianna. I want to do that
yeah.
now.
So I'm going like building that up. So we
Yeah.
have between Triss and this time, no
Yeah.
idea how much time has
Not a
passed.
clue.
Between Triss and Tagaran, which is literally the book goes Tagaran and then Triss,
Yeah.
there's like 500-ish seasons because of comment
Yeah.
that's made by the Badgers during that time.
Yeah.
Then uh between Redwall and oh wait no between Redwall and where am I getting lost? Oh, Run, sorry. Like maybe 200 seasons.
Yeah.
Then we know because of the comment that made the Rhulain died during the reign of Earthwhite. So
Yes.
those of you that might remember, Earthwhite became Badgerlord at the very end of Salamandastron, the
Yes.
book. And that was, I think, actually chronologically the last book before Redwall.
Yes.
And
Correct.
we don't know. There's absolutely no indication of how much time was between that book and Redwall. So we don't know how much time had passed. I don't think it's a ton because I don't think there was that much time between Bellmaker and Redwall. Like I think it was maybe like the same amount of time as it was between Redwall and Tagarun, like a 200-ish time
Okay.
year thing is my guess. I could be
Yeah.
completely wrong. But so like that's a lot of time. This is like over a
Yeah.
thousand seasons of time
Sure.
this happened. So setting that up. Then a comment that is made. So these otters have been oppressed for over 1,000, let's just say years for people's like brain wise.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long
A
time.
long time. And I know a lot of stories, like people can be oppressed for a long time and everything, like and stuff. It's just like in my brain, I'm like, why did we not uprise before this? Like I feel like there was other times maybe it did, and you can use the concept of like in story of like it wasn't the right time, etc. It was
Or
like
failed
except
uprisings.
or failed uprisings, but
Yeah.
those are never mentioned. So I'm like, okay, that's a lot of time to them have not done anything about these wildcats
Yeah.
who in like there's a lot of stuff. And then the other thing that bothers me is we get back to the time of Earthwhite. It is mentioned that Earthwhite is friends with the High Rulain.
Yeah.
It is for some reason, even as her friend, he does not go to Green Isle to see what the hell is up after that. He leaves it and makes her armor. And I'm like, she was your friend. She was killed by these things. You didn't seek revenge on her.
Yeah.
I know historically Earthwhite is not considered like a super like combative Badger Lord from what we've know little of
Yeah.
him and stuff. But it bothers me that he never did anything about it and
Yeah.
that Brian decided
Interesting.
to not have him do anything about something that happened to this friend of his. Like
Yeah,
in
no,
any
that is
way.
really interesting. I hadn't even thought about that.
I it as the further we've gone on in a series, and we talked about this a lot, like there's things that always don't make sense. The thing that this slightly suffers from, in my opinion, is that to a degree, each of these books is a standalone
Hmm.
for the most part.
Absolutely.
He writes each one as a standalone, using some concepts and things from previous books, and then he's like, "Ah, this would be great if I connected to this." I'm like, Brian, what you forgot what happens back then, XYZ kind of a thing. But then also this concept of I don't know why he chose to go this direction, and it just bothers me, and it might have something to do with my own issues maybe, but like the fact that this Badger Lord did not get revenge for his
Uh-huh.
friend's death
Yeah.
bothers me to no end and
Yeah.
stuff. When that actually is a concept of Redwall itself, it's not always getting revenge, but like just fighting for your friends and everything
Yeah.
like that. And he didn't go do that. Didn't even like do what Lord Manderall did, which was send a group of hares
Yep.
in within this situation to go take care of it and everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I get what Brian was trying to do is the ancient blood is here now. She can be the new High Rhulain and lead them to a better future. I'm like, it's been over 1,000 years
Yeah.
since this happened, and your ancestor, quote unquote, not actually, but like predecessor didn't do stuff about it.
Good save there, Brianna.
Censor myself. Didn't do anything about it. Over 1,000 years ago. What? So sorry. I'll
No,
get off my
I
soapbox.
no, stay on your soapbox because
Okay.
I made a note about the Corium and the last Hyrule Lane
Yeah.
being during the time of Earthwhite. And
Yeah.
also one of the things a few things to
Oh,
say about
yeah.
Earthwhite
Sorry.
is that
Yeah.
he wasn't combative, but he still was violent. Like he fought.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He had to be
Yeah.
goaded into it a little bit by his grandmother, but like
Yeah.
um he still fought. I did think an interesting plot point, or not plot point, like character comment was that he was gifted with making armor. So
Mm.
in terms of you can kind of tell a person's personality by their hobbies and interests
Yeah.
and things like that and what they're good at. So if he was interested in making armor rather than weapons, it may
Yeah.
like, you know, make you think, okay, he's not so much a battle warrior type of person. He's more of a defense and sort of not doing whatever.
That concept also fits with Krega, who did make weapons
Yes, her
too.
whole vibe was
Yeah.
making weapons and
Yeah.
she didn't carry shields. She didn't I mean she didn't really have armor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't made a big thought for her.
Yeah.
And even like Bor the Fighter, who is the one that
Mm.
made Martin's sword, same
Yeah.
thing, So that's really interesting. Also, talking about how Brian likes to drop in comments.
Yeah.
In this, Bor the Fighter was mentioned in this book. And
Yeah.
so at that point, 6 previous Redwall books are brought up in this book.
There's a lot
And
of
I I mean I've not gone through every single book and like made a note of how many
mm,
times a previous book is mentioned, but I think this might be the most times that for a book that is a standalone. So
yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily count the Redwall, Madamayo, Pearls of Lutra, Long Patrol because those are all sort of it
Yeah.
makes sense that they're all connected. Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting. That I just feel like it maybe during this book might be the most times that another series has ever mentioned, or the other the amount of other books because it's not
Yeah.
just like previously, this generation did this thing, but no, it's you had Bor the Fighter, you had Lord Earthwhite, you had,
Yeah.
and I think what I also included. Oh, you also had. Okay, this is a big thing. Do you have more to
Yeah.
say about the whole Earthwhite thing?
Not specifically that. It's a similar vein in that like this some of these things were never mentioned. I You say what you're gonna say because my thing has to go back to Redwall Abbey and kind of like the connection with that.
Well, I'm actually going back to Redwall Abbey also.
Oh, okay.
So on page 36 of my
Uh-huh.
book, it says, all right, here we go. We're going to find this is a record of birds written by one Abbess Bryony in the far bygone seasons.
When
She had a particular interest in hunting birds.
Oh yeah.
So that was the first one that I was like, oh, whoa, they just mentioned Bryony, who is from Outcast of Redwall. So
Yeah.
you have Outcast of Redwall, you have Mossflower, you have Salamandastron, and those are just 3 books,
Yeah.
right? And then we get into the names of the otters because I was like, weird, the names of these last names of these otters are sounding really familiar. I'm like, a
Yeah.
Gale Deep. Like a Gale Deep is Finbar. Finbar Gale Deep was his
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, wait, is this the ancestral home of the otters then? So this is where the Gale Deeps came from. Okay, so that's what is that? That's Bellmaker, right?
Yeah.
So then you have also from Bellmaker, Rab Stream Battle, who is
Yeah.
one of the he was the
He
he was
was
on
the
mute
basically the main
because it was Rab and Muta who were
yeah, he was like the main guard for the royal family
yes.
kind of thing.
So
Yeah.
a stream battle, and then you also have from Triss, which was not that long ago. You have the Wave
Yeah.
Dogs.
Yeah.
So Kruvo Wave Dog was the one, the young sort of impetuous orphan otter who just sort of did his own thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is really interesting that you've got all the names, okay,
Yeah.
and all these references to these books, and they're like minute references that I bet
Yeah.
Brianna. No, I bet. I know for a fact we only caught because you and I are reading them back to back to back to back and recording like relatively back to back. It's just how many references were made to previous books and not all the same book, but to the different books. So
Yeah.
it's almost like in a way he was trying to like tie all the threads together for the first time
Yeah.
and it didn't necessarily work well.
No, because there's some other things. Like one of the things is the whole Tyrius family,
Yep, the
the
Wild
Wild
Box.
Ox.
Hmm.
There was multiple times during the course of the time between Salamandastron and this
The 1,000 years, huh?
1,000 years, like there was barely any otters around and stuff at different points. Like a good example is Tagarun. Literally no point. See, this is the issue a little bit, and I get why Brian does this because you only want to focus on a couple of people. You don't want to focus on
Hmm.
too many people, and he already has a lot of people that he
Yeah,
focuses on, like even side characters wise.
yeah.
But it's very hard sometimes. It says Redwall's huge, but
Hmm.
like the small amount of people that are mentioned make it seem like it's only ever like maybe 100 people that live there, even though I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Redwall could take way more than that.
Yeah.
There's times where it's like, yeah, my family's lived in Redwall for generations. I'm like, I don't remember hearing about your family 3 books ago. Like, where did you come from?
Yep.
And so like the Wildlocks being there for generations,
Uh-huh.
like is a weird concept to me in the course of like the fact that none like we've talked about this before. The titles thing and how
Hmm.
sometimes a character is just their title and has no
Yeah.
other name, and other times they have a name
Yeah.
attached to the title, like Logalog. Like the Logalog in this one, I can't remember his name, but he was Logalog so and so. He even had a
Yeah.
last name, I think.
Yeah.
But then other times, especially the first Logalog we ever met, only is referred to as Logalog.
Yep.
That's it. We don't
Yep.
know what their actual name is.
Same thing.
There's other times where a character is ha becomes Log during the course of the story by the end, and then all of a sudden they no long one of the traditions is they no longer have their name. They're
Yep.
only Log. But then we change that the
Yep.
next book. Same thing with skippers.
Yep.
Same
Same
thing
thing
with
with
skippers.
skippers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm like, Brian, decide how this
Pick a
tradition,
lane.
pick a lane. Yeah, like decide, quote unquote, how you're
Yep.
going to make these traditions, quote unquote, work.
Yep.
Like,
I
yeah,
completely agree because skippers, like you said, skippers are the same thing. In this one, skipper has a name. Skipper
yeah,
Banjan, Skipper
yeah,
Banjan Wildlock. But
yeah,
sometimes they're only ever referred to as skippers.
yep.
And it's just confusing. Also, another thing about the skippers that I found particularly interesting because
Mm,
Brian doesn't usually do this,
yeah.
and it was only to drive Tyria off somewhere else,
Yes.
is let's
Nothing
see, I
like
wrote
a bit of misogyny to drive forward a woman into doing
into
things.
becoming the queen. Um,
Yes.
so for the first time, we get what I call sudden Mossflower otter lore,
Yeah.
where female otters in Mossflower can't become skippers. And that is the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Sorry, that is the first time it's been mentioned that that's a thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Now, here's how Brian gets around being fully misogynistic. He makes sure to say, but through Tyria, but dad, other places do it differently. And the dad's like, well, that's fine, they can do that differently, but here, this is the law. This is what happens. And she's like, ugh, dad. And then goes off on a whole thing. Anyway, and I'm just like, okay, I don't mind a bit of misogyny in books. Partly as long as it's like
As long as we're going to be tearing down the misogyny.
I mean, yes and no. As long as it's like it's not like she never amounts to anything and just dies in like obscurity or whatever. She ends
Mhm.
up becoming the queen of another like island and has a lot of, and again, Brian's not generally misogynistic in his books. He tends to
Yeah.
have a higher view of female characters than other people in the early 2000s when these were being written.
Yeah.
Um
Late 90s, early 2000s.
late well
Actually,
this is
Redwall
early
came out.
2000s.
This is
This book
early
is early
2000s.
2000s. I'm talking about like I'm not saying the whole series. I'm just talking about sort of this like chunk. But yeah,
Oh,
um
yeah.
Redwall came out in 86.
That's right.
So,
Sorry. Late
yeah.
80s.
So late 80s to early 2000s. Yeah, the first book was published in 86. The last book was published in 2011. So, it spans like almost 30 years
Mm,
of his life and career, which is really impressive. So, it's like 25
yeah.
years or something like that. So generally he's not super misogynist. You can tell, not very few female characters carry the sword of Martin the Warrior. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
there's not female warriors. There are, but very
Yeah.
few carry the sword of Martin the Warrior.
Sometimes, even if you aren't necessarily like misogynistic and stuff, and you're like, yes, women should have rights and everything, sometimes certain things can bleed through with
Mhm.
stuff. And it's not that they were intentionally being that way.
Yeah,
I do kind of feel like, again, it's a slightly product of his time. He wasn't
absolutely.
trying to actually be that. But like, we talked about this with Triss. I'm like, the only, at this point that I can remember, girl character that's wielded the sword barely got to wield it.
Uh-huh.
And also her journey in her fighting skills didn't
Uh-huh.
make a lot of sense and
Not at all.
everything. And it was like he kind of like didn't honestly do as good a job with that as he should
Yeah.
have, specifically with a character holding Martin's sword.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I love you, Brian, but I feel like maybe something was bleeding through your writing that
Hmm.
you didn't intend to and probably didn't like internally like actively be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
But sometimes I was actually saying this, I commented this on somebody's TikTok because they were talking about a lot of the conversation that happens, especially lately, on things that are book center, because especially right now, books have become a very popular hobby
Hmm.
for various reasons. And a lot of people like to say they don't like to read, or they like to read because they don't have to think. And why are
Yeah.
you bringing politics into things? And then people get upset when people are like, yeah, I'm not going to read this author because I don't like what they're doing,
Hmm.
XYZ and stuff. And I'm like, to each their own about things. Like
Hmm.
just like I want to say that. But something that people don't realize is that somebody's thoughts, including politics, will bleed
Hmm.
into their writing at some point. So you cannot fully separate the author from their
100%.
work without being like, I fully understand that they are like the concepts that they're writing in here are influenced by their thoughts and
Hmm.
feelings and everything like that. And I literally I commented that on somebody's thing. It was more of like they were saying what I was saying, but I was like, yeah,
Right.
it's almost
Okay.
like people don't realize that somebody's like thoughts and stuff about something will bleed into their work because your work is a product of who you are as a person
Hmm.
and everything. Even if you're writing something that is a little bit outside your box and stuff,
Yeah.
your you as a person will come out through it. And I do think that has happened to Brian a number of times. And
Hmm.
again, I don't think he was a bad guy. I
Mm-mm.
don't think he was like he was actively being misogynistic
Yeah,
or wanted to
absolutely.
be. I just think it was that he's an old man like for most of this thing. He's lived through a lot of time. We talked about this before with other aspects of this.
Yeah.
And sometimes even if you are trying to be more open-minded about certain things, you still are influenced to a certain level about how you've always thought about things. And I know
Yeah.
this about myself even like there's times where I'm like, "Oh wow, I didn't realize that I thought like that." And it's like interesting. And you kind of thought of that. Sorry, that was an
No,
interesting
that's
direction to go with that, but
I said something like that with Earthwhite, that
yes,
the
yeah,
things that you do tend to be based off of your personality and of course your
yeah,
environment and things like that. And that is one of the reasons why I'm completely on a wildly different tangent. Like there's a big difference between media that is meant to be mind numbing and
yeah,
mindless, and it tends to be really almost like slapstick sort of
yeah.
patchy. There's not a lot of continuity, and it's just sort of like choppy. It doesn't.
It
It's
like makes me think of old Cartoon Network shows. They're
yeah,
like every episode's a standalone
yeah.
basically
It's
stuff. And
SpongeBob
that's
SquarePants. Like, I'm
yes,
sorry, SpongeBob is not a show that has any sort of like. It is very light on the depth. It is a shallow show.
usually. Yeah.
Usually, I'm
Those shows sometimes will like they will have shallow like 90% of the time and then they will drop one episode that like
mhm.
devastates you in some
Yeah,
way, shape, or form and
yeah,
stuff, but it generally is not their
yeah,
concept to be too in depth a lot of
yeah.
time. Though
Where
you can
something
read things into it.
well, yeah, where something like Bluey has
Yeah,
just in 6 minutes of an episode incredible depth,
yeah,
and incredible insight into like family life and like the psychology of well, okay, dogs, but like humans, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's the difference between only having a diet full of junk food
mm,
and having a diet full of real food.
yeah,
Because when you have a diet full of junk food, it's not satisfying. You're always left hungry. You always left wanting for more. You're not satisfied with
yeah,
what you have. But when you eat an actual meal, so if I eat like if for dinner I eat popcorn, which is not
yeah,
it's a great snack. It's relatively healthy. Like it's not a bad snack. Granted, if I eat an entire bag of popcorn, that's one thing. But like
yeah,
it's not going to make me full.
yeah,
If I eat steak and potatoes, I'm gonna be full. I'm gonna be
yeah,
satisfied. It's a good meal. And I think people, especially in our culture, because of the amount of content that we have available to us, and especially the quality of content, we want the junk food, and we have a junk food diet, both intellectually and physically.
mm,
And when it comes up to things that are meat and potatoes, type of reading or viewing or things like that, it's harder for us to engage with, and we don't want to because it requires more thinking. And
yeah,
also, sometimes it requires introspection
yeah,
that we don't want to make. So that's one
yeah,
thing. The other thing I want to say is that we are also formed by the culture around us. And
absolutely.
so this is the thing about Redwall, is like a lot of the characters, at Redwall, they only know peace. And so they're really peaceful creatures. And so it's always said things like, oh, Redwall doesn't have a lot of warriors
And
because
it's to their detriment
a
sometimes.
lot of the times it's to their
Yeah.
detriment. And it's a good thing because being in an era of peace and being in a time of peace, that is good, right? That's not a
Yeah.
problem. What ends up happening is when Rackety Tam is a good example of this.
Mm.
It's seasons of peace and there's a lot of there's not a lot of warriors.
Yeah.
And so the people and this is the nice thing about having like the otters and the shrews as
Yeah.
their allies is because the otters travel around more, so they go back and forth between sort of the summer coast and like spending the rest of the year at Redwall, and that
Yeah.
means they have more experience battling vermin in the
Yeah.
forest and the Gaussum. They travel around all the time, but it's their environments form who they are. The hares are another thing. Growing up on
Yeah.
the mountain of Salamandastron, it's a military stronghold, and so you
Yeah.
grow up in a military thing. So I think all of this to say, this is a
Yeah.
whole different conversation about culture and personality and all those kinds of
Yeah.
things that we could have about so many different things. Is I'm currently reading a series that is not a nostalgic series for me because I
Mhm.
only read it like 2 years ago, but
Oh yeah.
it's the Thursday Next series by Jasper Ford, and I highly
Yeah.
recommend it for a variety of reasons. One is because it is in a lot of ways political satire,
Yeah.
and it's done really tactfully, but also really tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
And I think having stuff that you can have sort of the gritty, dark, painful stuff that you read and you're like, this actually hurts to read because of how true it can be, or how it's calling out things in me or in other people that just really hurt.
Yeah.
It can also be done. This is what satire is, right? The whole point of SNL, like
Yeah.
their whole shtick is making fun of politics, whether it's, left, right, mid, whatever it is.
I
Their
would
whole
say
thing is
politics and culture.
politics and culture, yeah. So it's just really interesting how Brian specifically bringing it all the
Yeah.
way back around. How
Coming
you can
back.
tell in Brian's story because we're already at about an hour of recording, and we've actually got quite a lot left to say.
Yeah.
I have quite a lot left to say. I don't know about you.
Sorry I took us in that
That's okay.
wild direction.
It's worth it,
Yeah.
It's fine. Okay, so I talked about the names. Some more things I want to talk about. Another interesting sort of lore thing for Redwall is we have the first ever Redwall library where
Yes.
all of the collected scrolls, parchments, books, everything were gathered from the abbey, like dusted off, pulled out of barrels. Like the whole comment about the production of the library, the creation of the library was actually really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Um, Especially because from the foundation of Redwall, which was Mossflower, that it took, are we saying between
Salamandastron and now.
Salamandastron and Rhulain is about 1,000 years?
Give or
Give or
take. It
take.
could be
Well,
another 500 years, who knows?
plus or minus 500 is what we'll say,
Yeah.
So between Mossflower and Salamandastron was, let's give it another 500 years. I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think it was it the time
We
between Mossflower and Redwall doesn't feel like it's like thousands of years. It
mm-mm,
feels like it was
hundreds.
literally a couple hundreds kind of a thing.
Well,
So,
let's say for the sake of we've talked about this before, but I don't remember
yeah.
what our conversation was, and I'm not gonna lie to
Yeah.
our listeners that at this particular point in time, I haven't edited the videos
Mm,
or the episodes, and so I don't remember what our conversation was. So
yeah. We had talked a lot
eventually
about a lot of it in Taggerun specifically, so
did okay, good to
I'm
know.
pretty sure at
Good to
least.
know.
Or Triss.
Or
It might
Triss.
have
It
been
probably was
Triss.
Triss.
Yeah. It's probably Triss, yeah.
Let's just say it's been about 1,500 years.
Yeah.
You're telling me that in this 1,500 years,
Yes.
nobody thought,
To make a library.
you know what? Instead of just using these books as the what's it called? The my bed. What's it
Yeah.
called? What is it? What's this called? Frame.
Bed
My bed
frame.
frame to support
Yeah.
my bed frame, or
Yeah.
to stop the door, which is another thing that has happened. Is we've
Because
used books as door stops.
the recorders
Yep.
always up to this point have also lived in the
In the
gatehouse or
gatehouse.
like
Yep.
or something
Mhm.
like that. And I'm like,
Stuffed with
that's such an
parchment to the brim.
and the fact, okay, one of the other things I'm like, okay, ever since at least from what I remember Redwall specifically, they like there's a whole after section where the sparrows just had, and it was like that at some point was something they built so other people could use it.
Yep.
And then going into this book, hundreds and hundreds of years later, like there's and this is even before that, because there's multiple times during the course of between Redwall and even this, that there was times where like, yeah, we're going into the attic, and it's
In
so
the
like
attic, yep.
nobody, and that one person at one point in the past lived up here, and I'm like,
Isn't that the old lady squirrel?
yes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's the first time either. I could be misremembering other ones too, but like again, another like old person lived in the attic. Like it's multiple times has happened and
Yep.
nobody goes up there. And
Yep.
I'm like, you don't use any of these rooms at like ever? They've one was like I don't know. So it's just like at
Yep.
no point did you like the library, I think it was mentioned. Oh no. So this is another thing that I had an issue with. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
With
yeah.
you set me off with this briefly.
Of
So
course.
when they go up into this attic area at one point, they
Yeah.
mentioned that this one room is as big as Cavernhold, I think is what it was, or
Yeah.
Great Hall, one of
Great
them,
Hall.
which are both big areas, but like
Yeah.
they are like obviously one's a little bit bigger than the other, but still, this room was big enough to house a bunch of people in it, and it's just randomly sitting there empty. Like I don't get it. That's the kind of going back to what I was talking about, is there's different points where it feels like there's only like
Yep.
I say a handful, very with a huge grain of salt with that, but like a handful of animals living here at a time, and this thing was made so huge.
Yep.
Like, why was it made so big?
Yep.
Because at no point in any of the stories has it felt like it's ever been full, even when it's been
Yep.
attacked and stuff. It's just like it's almost like it was made just to be a labyrinth for
Yeah.
them to find clues in and stuff.
Ah, that's
So,
so good, Brianna.
thank
And
you.
so yeah, there's I found it on page 64 that or 65 60 63 and 64, excuse me.
Mm,
This is where Old Quelt's the librarian. So
yeah.
this is where you first get introduced to the Redwall, Redwall Abbey's first library. And it's an old attic room. Long seasons to clear out the gatehouse, empty the abbess's chambers, the kitchen, cellars, dormitories, everything. And Quilt says they're still searching, discovering, dusting, repairing, and cataloging old writings.
Yeah.
And he's still at this current moment as the recorder. So
Yeah.
he's on top of all of his other jobs. He's also still trying to write the annals of like current Redwall history. So I find it really interesting that it took this long
Yeah.
to get to the point of having a library. Again, whatever. It's fine. It happens. So that's really interesting thing. I don't necessarily have any more about Redwall at this
Yeah.
point. I want to actually go move overseas to actually no, I want to talk about that because we'll talk about that during your character part.
Mm,
Two things. One is Cuthbert. No,
yeah.
let's you know what? Never mind. We can actually move into characters because the last thing I have to say is about
Tied.
characters.
Okay.
So yeah, let's talk about characters, Brianna. That's hilarious. We just spent about half an hour talking about world building and story. Anyway, let's finish with talking about characters and then our favorite characters because I've
Yeah.
got some thoughts that I think will be interesting about my favorite character, and then you can talk about you. So let's give you a chance to talk because I've spent a lot of the last half hour talking.
Mm.
Who is your favorite character and why?
All right. So, my favorite character is not any of the main cast.
Classic.
Just to clarify, yeah. It's this otter mom basically, Deidro. Is that how you say her name?
I think it's Diderot.
Deidro, okay.
Yeah, Diderot.
She's very strong-willed. Her husband is one of the Gale Deeps. I forget how to say his name. It starts with a K.
I don't
Kalego or something
remember.
like that.
No,
Yeah,
I'll find
so
it.
it's called Big Kalego or something like that. I'm gonna say Big K. There we go. Deidro's husband is Big K. And he's like
Oh, it's
big,
Colin.
loud. Colin. There we go.
Yeah.
Still gonna call him Big K. But so she's not in the story like a ton, but
Yeah.
she is at the same time because she basically runs the camp that all of the
Yep.
families are at, the ones that are not enslaved. And she runs that ship tight. Like she's
Yeah.
got stuff figured out down. Her and she's constantly like, get it together, husband and stuff. And it's not like he's like a lays about or any of that kind of thing. Just a normal like
Yeah.
big, kind of laid back guy, but he's a warrior still. So they're one of my favorite dynamics of the kind of silly big guy with the really tough wife and
Yeah.
stuff. Like such a great dynamic. I
It is
love her.
fantastic.
Absolutely. And I always love tough mom characters. And I'm not talking about she says mean things all the time.
Yeah.
She's got stuff figured out. Her kids are all happy. And her husband have this like cute little relationship where he's a little bit afraid of her and everything. And
Yeah.
I think might have something to do with trauma of my own with mothers, but who knows? Actually having
Okay.
a
Yep.
mother that's
We
actually
went there.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, we did. You had told me to.
I
You're like Kayla, you're like
I
Brianna.
didn't know if you were actually going to go there, but
I
yeah,
may as
I
well.
support you.
So, thank you. I appreciate
Yep.
it. So, seeing a mom character that actually like cares and gets stuff done and is really
Yeah.
tough and like people actually listen to her is always my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And one of my other favorite things is at the end, one of the things that's slightly okay, one of my pet peeves about
Okay.
books that have main girl characters
Hmm.
they very rarely have other women around them to
Yeah.
support
Yeah.
them. And besides them maybe having a peer, like
Yeah.
usually one,
Yeah.
like let's be honest. And it's because a lot of the time what it is these women in these like higher like or they're either like warrior or in some higher like thing and it's
Like
usually
leadership position.
leadership position. It's a male dominated position, and they're breaking the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
Brianna's
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
lots of quotes while she's talking about this.
Yes.
Uh,
Lots of
lots
finger
of finger
quotes.
quotes. Yes. So I'm like, cool. I love a good story where a woman can prove she can do what a man can do and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But also, it's frustrating because at a lot of media, men in those same jobs that we watch them in have a group of men around them
Yep.
who are friends and buddies and whatever else you want to call it
A
and
band
everything
of
like that.
brothers.
A
Yep.
band of brothers. We don't get a band of sisters ever.
Yep.
It's apparently just a man thing to have that, which I know that's not the case. But the only time you ever get to see that is in movies or books that are about like women going to a bachelorette party or like
Yeah.
moms on a vacation and now their
Yeah.
kids are out of the nest. Like those are the only times that I can think of. Or it's like a teen movie
Yeah.
where, oh, like we're
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
yeah, like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, I would like like a book or anything where a woman warrior has a group of women around her and they're all warriors or something else connected to it and everything like that. So like that's one of my pet peeves. Again, I did really love the story, but that was something literally from the get-go. Tyria was surrounded by men the whole time.
Yeah.
Like her small group of friends at Redwall, all boys.
Yep.
Every single one of them. And I don't have a problem with like girls
Yeah.
being friends with boys. That's most of the media that I consume though, unfortunately,
Hmm.
is largely that. And it wasn't until we got to Green Isle and everything was like taken care of that she connected with Banya, another otter maid who was a warrior. She was great. She's one of my other
Yeah.
favorite side characters because she's really intelligent. There was a couple times where, how do you say his name again? Letho?
Letho.
Letho. There was when Letho, after been Letho been captured, Big K had been like, we should just do this. And she's like, nope,
Hmm.
let's wait. Because
Yeah.
he's a little bit more of like, let's do this. And she's like,
Hmm.
let's make a plan, thank
Yeah.
you. And so Banya was another really great girl character and stuff. So at the end, finally, Tyria connects with them. Her and
Yeah.
Banya like immediately connect. And she's like, you're gonna be one of my aides, basically, or like one
Yeah.
of my like big
Advisors.
advisors. And then
Yeah.
Deidre,
You say it how you want to.
okay, Deidre also becomes that because she
Yeah.
was running everything. Again, Brian isn't afraid to make women characters, but it's just really annoying sometimes because a lot of authors fall into, even women authors
Yep.
fall into this thing where it's the girl being supported by all of these men going into this field that
Yeah.
is a man, quote unquote, man field and
Yeah.
stuff, and has traditionally been so.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that's why Deidre and Banya also really stuck out is because we got to see it at the very end, but we honestly should have gotten other characters
Yeah.
before this. And again, Brian hasn't done that in every book. Like we get Russa and Tamo. That was great.
Hmm.
It's a female mentor, though she dies halfway through the book and
Yeah.
stuff. But the other thing that annoyed me a little bit is like other times Brian has been really good about having women hairs. There was none. We didn't see any women hairs.
I know.
What happened, Brian?
They all stayed
What
home to make
happened?
sandwiches, Brianna.
Apparently. So this, despite the fact that this book has a female lead, that I loved Tyria. She was great, like and everything. I was just a little bit disappointed with certain things
Yeah.
after coming back to this and writing this as an adult.
Yeah. My one note about Diderot
Yeah.
was General Diderot.
Oh yeah,
That's all that
absolutely.
I wrote on,
Yes.
which is really, really funny.
Love it.
But I want to
Yeah.
say, I fully agree with a lot of what you're saying about the female, lack of female characters being around Tyria in this one.
Yeah.
What I will say is the way that again he covers his butt, I guess, in this is at
Mhm.
the end, there's letters between Tyria and Abbess Lycian,
Yes, yeah.
and Tyria's writing and she says, I would be lost without Diderot and
Yes.
Vanya Streamdog as my constant companions. We take tea
Yeah.
together just like you and Mulmum Burby. Between us, we plan and discuss everything from feasting to harvesting. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's got sort of the military, you know, Colin is the one who is an officer, I guess. He makes a whole comment about that and how he starts
Yeah.
adopting hair speech at the end.
Much to Detro's charging.
Yes. Well, I love this
They're
because
great, I mean.
she's like, why are you talking like that for goodness sake? And he's like, because, ho, jewel of my heart. Wait, ho, jewel of my heart, of my art. Sorry. The way that he drops the H's. I'm a officer now. And she's like, you great windbag. Keep talking like that to me and I'll bend a ladle round your rudder. Which is just like so fun. And so
Yep,
she's just such a good character. And I wish we would have
she
had
is.
more of her, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
alas, we don't.
Alas.
Um, for me, my favorite
Yeah.
character and what I want to talk about
Was
is
the kooky old
Cuthbert.
man.
Yes, Cuthbert. Okay, and I want to find his actual like full name because
Cuthbert
hold
Blaindale.
on, hold on. It was more than that.
Oh yeah, he has a longer name, I
He's
forgot.
got a bunch of random names. Okay. Major Cuthbert Frunk. We'll just call
Yeah.
him Blaine Cuthbert. Cuthbert Blaine Frunk. We often have hares as companions. It is
Yeah.
rare that, and occasionally we'll have somebody who's a little bit kooky, a little bit mad.
Yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to talk about here was mental health representation in this book. So
Yeah.
Cuthbert has developed a case of, I don't know what it's currently called. It's gone through a bunch of different terms over the years. So I'm just going to go with the
I
one,
yeah, it's
dissociative identity disorder.
yes, I
Yes.
think is the more recent one.
Yes. Oftentimes, and I've not done a whole lot of research into this to say this, but oftentimes that particular personality disorder is developed through the result of trauma, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And generally it tends to develop in childhood rather than
Yes.
just spontaneously happening as an adult.
I want to say probably what in this case Cuthbert has is more of a PTSD induced sort of thing. And again,
Yes.
we don't know enough about this. And it may not be necessarily what it might be its own thing comparing like though there might be some crossover similarities with
Yes.
DID.
Yes. Let me
Right.
get all my thoughts out
Yes,
as
yes.
I'm doing this.
Sorry. Yeah.
Um because what happens to Cuthbert
Mhm.
is during some seasons back. We don't know
Yeah.
how long ago it was. He is an officer at Solomon Dastron. He's got a young daughter who's very pretty, very sweet, and
Yeah.
she ends up getting brutally killed by vermin, and I
Yeah.
believe some sort of sea rats or something like that, which is why he takes to the high seas. And he ends up discovering one of his comrades ends up discovering her, and then he just like loses his mind and he ends
Yeah.
up on a ship and when the ship pulls back into harbor essentially and the hares go on board to see okay what happened.
Yeah.
Every vermin is dead and Cuthbert has been like mortally wounded
Yeah.
and has head injuries as well and then recovers and
Yeah.
he heals. And so I think it's really interesting. And again, I don't know how deeply Brian went into this. I don't know
Yeah.
what we don't know. And obviously things have changed in the 20-ish year, 20, exactly 20 years actually
Yeah.
since Brian wrote this. But
Yeah.
this was as you were saying, it didn't just spontaneously develop, but this is a PTSD response to the trauma that he experienced, both in
Yeah.
terms of losing his daughter in a very
Yeah.
brutal way, but also in terms of the traumatic brain injuries that he experienced as he was taking vengeance on
Yeah.
upon the creatures that killed his daughter. And
Yeah.
so I just thought Cuthbert himself was a very interesting character and the different sort of personas that he put on and the literal hats that he put on as he was changing. I
Yeah.
found that really interesting. I found it really compelling. I also, you know, he's not generally when you have main characters,
Mhm.
you're supposed to like them regardless of anything else. Like you're not
Yeah.
supposed to sort of feel uncomfortable around a main character. You want to feel safe and secure and like, okay, whatever. But one
Yeah.
thing I liked about Cuthbert is that very rarely do you feel, I guess, safe with him in a way that you like if when you're reading Letho and you're reading
Yeah.
about his character, he's strong, he's smart, he's intelligent,
Yep.
he's emotionally intelligent, he's wise, and even though he's relatively young, like he's
Yep.
got all these good qualities that you generally want on a main character.
Yeah.
Cuthbert is just a step. A good example is Krega, right?
Yeah.
Krega's a great character. We love her, but her young self was reckless and endangered a lot of creatures.
Yeah.
And I think Cuthbert has a similar edge of almost madness to him. And I don't want
Yeah.
to say madness because madness is often like in the ancient times, people who had mental health disorders were just considered mad, right?
Yeah.
But his particular brand of madness endangers other people,
Yeah.
even though it's also admired by other people. And so I
Yeah.
just thought his character was really compelling. Also, his death in particular, I have really strong like memories of. There's a few character
Okay.
deaths in Redwall that have just really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
One of those was in the Long Patrol
Mm.
with Rockjaw Grang when he
Yeah.
dies. Like
Jeez.
that absolutely wrecks me. Like every time that I read it, every time I listen
Yeah.
to it. And Cuthbert's death in this one also has stuck with me for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, because it is exactly what he wanted,
Yeah.
right? He wants to be reunited with his daughter in death.
Yep.
And the way he goes about that, and part of his sort of drive as a sea captain, which is sort of what he is he does reckless things that endanger himself in the hopes that at some point he's not just going to off himself, but like in the
Yeah.
hopes that one day he will meet his daughter and back like in
Yeah.
death again.
Yep.
And the way that he does that is I didn't talk about this in the world building part, but there's a place called Deep Lock, which is
Hmm.
a giant crater that
Yeah.
if you look on the map in Rhulain, it looks like a giant meteorite like crashed into the earth and like left this
Yeah.
giant crater or whatever. And it's filled with water. It's this little lake, and in it is something called the Slothanog,
Yeah.
which is the Loch Ness monster. Okay, for
Basically, yeah.
all intents and purposes, especially
Yeah.
basic Scottish, like whatever, like it's the Loch Ness monster,
Yeah.
and it's not intelligent as far as we can tell. And it's often like people will the wildcats will throw people into the deep lock to you know not sacrifice them. What's the word? As punishment, I
Yeah.
guess. And Cuthbert just the whole scene is just so beautiful. And this is like I wish I could see it cinematically because I can
Yeah.
imagine the like this epic battle music, and then all of a sudden there's violin that starts happening because violin is like the sound of death essentially.
Absolutely,
And it
yeah.
just turns into this really epic and really sad music. Just really beautiful. And Cuthbert and the Slothanog do battle and then sink into the sea because they end up killing each other. And
Well,
it's
sink into the
just,
lock.
huh?
Sink into the lock.
Sink into the
You said
lock. Yes.
C, so I was like, wait,
Oh,
clarify,
sorry.
people.
You're right. Sink into the lock, into the water. It's just really beautiful, and I really really love it.
And
Um,
the great thing was like at the end, I don't. It was just like basically the story saying this, but like now
yeah,
he's known as a dragon slayer in his final moments.
yes. Oh, so good. Oh,
Yeah,
because he wear right. He's wearing all the different hats, and he's like his final hat that he wore is Cuthbert the Dragon's. Oh, it's
yeah,
just so good.
yeah,
And so I really like his character, not because he was a Mary Sue, good all the time, no flaws, no nothing, but
yeah,
because he was a complex character who suffered quite severely with trauma, which I know I love trauma, and then ends with a really beautiful tragic death that also was exactly what he wanted. And so,
absolutely, yeah.
right, Brianna, we got to give this a nostalgia rating.
Yes.
You go first.
Okay. I feel like at one point this was maybe one of my top ones a long time ago,
Yeah.
but I don't remember it as much as I did like certain stuff with other books. But I'm gonna give it a 4,
Okay.
kind of mixing between those two things. Because like I
Mhm.
did really enjoy this, but I kind of going off of some of the stuff that I've said, my enjoyment of things with women in it as main characters has changed a lot. And
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with like that these people are doing like the worst job ever because I've read worse.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
it's just like it's hard for me. I want more. And
Yeah.
so while I did really love this in a lot of ways, like I did really enjoy the fact that she came and she saved these people. Like
Yep.
those moments will always get me, even if I don't feel like they were maybe done as well as they could have
Yeah.
been and stuff. Like I still really loved it. Like I want more now and
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, this one was good, but it fell flat for me in a few
Yeah.
areas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it's a 4.5. It is one of the ones I remember relatively well. I think I must have started reading this in the late 2000s, early
Yeah.
2010s. Nah, it would have been the late 2000s, I think. And so it would have been fresher out, I guess. So maybe only a couple of years old. And so
Yeah.
I even the copy that I have, which used to be your copy, thanks, Brianna.
Yeah. You're
You can
welcome.
tell it's been read a lot. You can tell it's suffered a bit from water damage. Like it is something I read a ton. I think there's a lot I love and remember. You're right that as an adult now, the things I enjoy reading and stuff like that, it's
Yeah.
different. But it's something I really enjoy, and honestly, I'm it's something I will definitely read again. I
Yeah.
recommend listening to the audiobooks, because just the accents, the singing, all that stuff is just really
Oh
good.
yeah.
So yeah, I think we did it, Brianna. I
We did.
think we made it through.
We made it
Just
to the end.
a surprise for us. Do you have any other thoughts about this that frankly we've not gone over in fine tooth comb detail over this last hour and 20-ish minutes?
I mean, we could spend forever going in depth on characters we didn't even touch on,
Yep.
honestly, in this. Like it's so easy to do.
Yep.
But we only have so much time on these things, so
It's true. I mean, well, who's
yeah.
stopping us from doing a 3-hour episode, Brianna? Only
My
ourselves.
desire to eat food, because this is in the morning and
Fair
I haven't
enough.
eaten
Okay.
anything yet.
All right. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
My body says otherwise.
That's okay. Our brother just called me, so I need to
Oh,
call him back.
that's funny, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, other priorities prevent us from doing 3-hour episodes. Is
Yes,
what it is.
yeah.
Maybe the season finale. We'll see.
Yeah.
We just talked about that actually.
We'll see
Um.
us.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Readers Clubhouse. If you like this discussion and you want to hear more, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify every other Friday. You can check our episode description for our socials and join us in the clubhouse next time as we discuss our Halloween episode,
Yeah.
Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Yep.
That is going to be a fun time. I've read it twice, I think, ever. Maybe once in my life.
I've never read it, so
Oh, we're going to have a fun time. I've
yeah.
got already so many thoughts based on the fact that I read it in high school. So
Okay.
this is going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
But we will see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Bye!
Bye.